뭐였지? 뭐였지? 뭔 소리지?
사방팔방.
All right, welcome back to the Korean Always podcast. Hello, it's me, Adam Mola, and with my boy George. Today we're going to be talking about video games, whether we should play video games, the hard, the easy, our experience with them, and are they even good for immersion? So I'm going to kick it to George because George has actually probably played more video games than any person I know in Korea.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I gotta ask you, George. So video games.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, what was your favorite video games, or how'd you get into them?
Oh, righty. So yes, my favorite Korean video game, probably my favorite video game, I'll say of all time, is called Black Desert Online, or in Korean, 검은사막, which Black Desert for the translation. Right. And now this game is an MMO, and if you guys don't know what an MMO RPG is, it is basically a game where you have your own character, and the objective is to level up your character by killing monsters. By killing the monsters, you get better items, get more stronger to kill the big monsters, and then eventually you're reaching the end game to be the strongest guy in this world. Now, that's a very simple explanation, but this particular game, Black Desert, why it's so good is that it's got Korean dubbing, and it also has Korean subs as well. So now, that is actually quite a hard thing to find in video games. Those of you who've had a look on the internet for yourself, Korean dubbing is not a common thing. It's not a common procedure that big companies like to go through. So that was the sort of the highlight of that from a language learning perspective. Of course, the graphics were amazing, and it's probably the only sort of AAA game that is like fully dubbed in Korean, maybe aside from Cyberpunk, but we can get into that in another video. But yeah, Black Desert, I also made some friends on there through a guild. So I joined a guild, which is part of the game, which you pretty much have to do. And you have to speak to Korean people. But these Korean people particularly helped me out when I moved to Korea. So I actually met this guild, and the people in there were so friendly that they helped me out so much that I can't really recommend the game enough. Yeah.
So
nice. Yeah, Black Desert.
When did you start playing that game? Like, how early was it in like immersion that you found started playing? Was it before immersion or like after?
Yeah. So I was a fan of the game before I even was learning Korean, and I didn't even know it was Korean at the time. I just thought it was just an American game. I was playing on the EU servers, and then when I started immersion, I actually found out that it was a Korean game because I just looked up Korean versions, and bam, the holy grail right there. Kind of saved me on the on the path to finding a good game. So yeah, I've been playing it. I've been a long-term user of the game, and I recommend it.
Was it tough in the beginning? So I mean, I'm assuming you played it in English before you went to Korean. I mean,
yes,
because you didn't know it was a Korean game in the first place. So when did you make that transition to playing it in Korean?
Right. Well, actually, because I played it in English, you can kind of work out what all the buttons are. Same for the sort of people who change their phone language from English to Korean. Right. Uninstalls this, whatever the case is. You kind of work it out.
Right.
But in terms of actual comprehension, I wasn't understanding much for a very long time. I actually didn't join the guild until about 6 months into playing, or 6 months into immersing Korean in general. So that was at first I really struggled to communicate with the guys and understand what they're saying, but I would sit in the Discord call with all of them talking to me, so I'd be constantly getting input. That's how I went about it. It wasn't too difficult for me, obviously, because I played the game before. But if anyone who's first starting it out, although it is a free game, it's not an easy sort of learning curve. So the content is there. The content's amazing. It's just the actual game itself is kind of hard to learn. So
is it?
I still recommend it for the hardcore gamers. Yeah.
Is it one of those games where there's a lot of text or a lot of dialogue parts? Because I know a lot of games, even with my experience, was I'd play a game, but there'd be not enough text or not enough listening for me to consider it an immersion based experience. Right. So is it a lot of running around? Or, what kind of that?
Yeah, so there's a fair bit of running around, but it's mostly quests and stuff, and you have to actually read your quests and read, what people are saying to figure it out. So you do need to understand it, or at least a few words, to actually play the game. So it does force you into immersion. But with that said, there is a lot of running around, and the time between, you get to these dialogues can be quite long. So I recommend, anyone playing, be in the guild chat or I've had a podcast rolling just to make it, keep your language learning going. But otherwise, it's fully immersive.
Nice. Yeah, I guess like for me, while I didn't go like so I guess before Immersion, I was pretty into a game called NBA 2K. And while you'd be surprised after I got into Immersion and like I was like, all right, I'm done playing video games, let me just
How
like
many
get into
hours?
Korean and everything. Oh, before you know, it's over 10,000 hours into the game. I mean, it was like
There it
8,000
is.
to one game and like 6,000 to another. A little bit intense gaming on that end. But after a couple months into Immersion, I was like, you know what? I gotta like, I need to see this game again. And then I saw there was a Korean like, you could put the language Korean was available for the game because I had it
Oh,
on Steam. And then there was this
oh,
game mode that I played all the time called My GM. And in
right.
this game mode, essentially, you're the GM of your organization. And I
Mhm.
basically, this was pretty much the only game mode that I played it more than any other game mode in the game. And it's like a bunch of text anyway. So when I
Ah,
changed to Korean, I saw like all of these conversations because you had to like read the conversations, talk with your manager, talk with your so and so. And I basically was getting some pretty solid immersion from that. And I was like, holy cow, like this is actually not that bad. The only thing
mm,
is it wasn't like a dubbing in it. So it got kind of boring after a while. So
right.
I stopped playing it.
So how did you?
And I was like,
So would
yeah,
you
why would I do
recommend
that?
that? Yeah. Would you
Would I
recommend that to
recommend
other
that?
people?
You
Yeah.
see, I think if you like basketball or NBA 2K, like me, like it's not very many people do, but if you do, that was like a pretty fun way to like engage, play basketball, or at least watch basketball to a certain degree, and like engage talking and like seeing how like an organization talks. The
Yeah.
language is kind
They do have it.
of it's not super easy. It's
Formal?
probably like
Mm.
there in the intermediate, but overall I think it was pretty fun when I did it. Just
Right.
like the lack of a dub kind of killed it. I was like, I kind of want to
Uh,
listen to more Korean. I didn't want to like
yeah.
do too much reading at the time. So yeah, that was pretty
Yeah.
much where I was at.
The dub is a sort of a killer, yeah, killer thing. But I was going to say, like with most of the games, a lot of the vocabulary, or for example, NBA, is not really going to be on par with like a novel or a book, right? Because there's
Right.
again, it's a certain domain. But for
Exactly.
BDO, I'm going to call it BDO, Black Desert Online. I'm just going to call it BDO from now on. A lot of the words are sort because it's set in the medieval time
Mm.
period. There's a lot of words like potion or sort of words that you wouldn't necessarily find in real day speech, but that's also a good
Everyday
thing
life,
because it's
right?
sort of increasing your vocabulary, like words like alchemy or wizard. You know, these kind of
Mm.
things that you do still kind of need to know here and there if you like your sort of fantasy stuff. So yeah, that's another advantage. But
Yeah.
anywho,
Oh yeah, and speaking of
yeah,
that, I know you played Skyrim in
ah,
Korean also,
yes,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
how
yeah.
was that? I never got it to work. So like, how was playing Skyrim in Korean?
Yeah, so that's another good point to touch on. A lot of games don't have official Korean support, but thanks to the amazing fan base of some sort of AAA games like Skyrim, for
Right.
example, certain users have translated the whole game to English. So if you're, sort of, you've got some technical know-how about you, you can download the Korean patch for the game. This is for Skyrim. It's also I've done this for Nier Automata and a few other games where the English text is just replaced with Korean. So although there's no dubbing, if you just mute the game audio or play a podcast or something, the full dialogue turns into Korean, and it's really really amazing to see like how these sort of creators have done that because it's not easy to translate a whole entire game. That must have taken like
Right.
years of work or hours of intense just sitting there translating line for line. But yeah, if there is a game on the Steam store or whatever store you're using, and you think it doesn't have Korean check, double check on your Nather. If you search Hangul Patchi, it will come up with whether there is a Korean patch for it or not, and you can still play the games that you used to enjoy. Because
Right.
I found that an issue is that a lot of games that I used to enjoy don't have a Korean patch, or at least an official one. But if you go
Right.
looking for it, you will be able to find, well, the majority of cases, there is one out there available, which is nice.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I
So,
had
yeah.
that experience. Like I was trying to like play Terraria. I think it was
Mhm.
like Terraria the last update for Terraria had come out
Oh,
and
yeah.
this was March of 2020, I think. And I remember my brothers were like, "Yo, let's all like play Terraria like, yo, let's play this game. Let's do it all over again.
That was
See
the
the
hot
new one."
game.
And then I was like, "Yo, is there Korean?" And then I look and I couldn't find Korean. And then I was like, "Wait, but Korean like Terraria is super popular in Korea." So I was like trying to search for like any place where I could find Korean version Terraria, but I just couldn't find it. So then my brothers were like, "You couldn't find it?" I was like, "Yeah, bro, sorry, I can't play with you guys."
Yeah, well, that's
So
what the dedication. Yeah,
yeah,
we'll see who's laughing when
moments.
you're fluent in Korean in like a few years' time. So, I mean, you're already pretty
Right,
damn fluent now, but yeah.
that was the plan. That was the plan, you know. But I mean, other
Mhm.
games. So I know we both played one game that in particular is probably, in my
Yeah.
opinion, the coolest multiplayer game that you can like play with friends and like get a lot of solid immersion from, and that
Mhm.
is Stardew Valley.
Ah, yes, yeah. So,
Right, right.
I mean, do you want to take it away,
I
or
mean, as far as Stardew Valley, I mean, for those that don't know, Stardew Valley is like this farming sim. You didn't say simulation, would you?
yeah,
Kind
it's
of.
kind of like sort of
Like
Minecraft but 2D, like Terraria kind
right.
of.
Yes, yes, yes,
That's a
yeah. It's kind of like
really kind of
Terraria put into like a farming simulate like, kind of simulation thing where you're living as a
farming
farmer on
RPG.
like
Yeah.
a town and you have to deal with relationships. You got to talk to Peggy. You got to talk to
Oh
the
yeah,
bar guy. You got to
the
talk to like
characters
you can
fishing
get
in there as
married in
well.
the entire game.
Oh yeah,
And recently, yeah, you can get
I
married.
didn't even
Oh
know
yeah, you
that.
haven't played
Yeah,
that, right? So
I've only
like
been playing a few
before.
recently. Yeah,
Right. So like before Immersion, I played it like a lot. I played Stardew Valley. I
that was
finished
your
like the
game.
entire game before I did Immersion. But then like when we started immersing, and then we started talking, we were like, "Oh snap,
Mm.
Terraria got multiplayer. You want to play?" And then I
Yeah.
remember like we'd be going around talking to like random people, and honestly, the dialogue in Terraria I'm saying Terraria,
Yeah, well,
dialogue in Stardew Valley is pretty solid too. Wouldn't you say?
mm. Oh wait, no, I was saying that that's not obviously the only game we play, but yeah, Stardew is really great for dialogue, and I mean I'm down to play some after the podcast if you want.
Honestly. Oh yeah, that's pretty fun. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I guess moving on from that, then we've discussed some PC games. There's one more game on PC that we'll get back to in a sec, but in terms of mobile games, ones that I played in Korean, there's Among Us, which of course very popular, but
Everyone
this is really
knows.
good for your output. So I suppose we could sort of move on to the output games a little bit
Oh yeah, yeah.
later on. But yeah, Among Us. If you guys probably know what Among Us is. If you don't know, then
Among
you've probably been living
Us.
under a rock. But yeah, Among Us is quite good because you need to sound convincing in your sort of arguments. So when you get to sort
Yeah,
of higher levels of language learning with output, that's quite useful. And I found it's
yeah.
quite easy to lie in a foreign language because people can't really tell if it's just like you're like
Oh
bad at
yeah.
language or you're lying. So
It's
I won my fair few games as imposter just because
wait.
people
Can
couldn't
you
tell.
like? I'm curious. Like, I've never played
Yeah.
Among Us, but like, can you
Oh yeah.
play on Korean servers like in the UK or at least from other places?
Yes. Well, that's what
Oh
I did.
really?
Yeah, the ping isn't so. Normally, if you play on other servers, the ping difference is like too much. And for example, shooter games like
Right.
Overwatch, which I really enjoy, playing it on Korean server would be kind of too difficult because the lag and stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah, Among
Oh
Us is
right,
one of
right.
those games. Particularly mobile games aren't an issue. But yeah, Among Us is cool. Then and the other mobile game that I used to play, which I don't recommend, and I'm going to tell you why. So yeah, just to clarify, Among Us, I do recommend that for people who want to speak
Right.
or listen to other people speak at least. The other game that I used to play was Blue Archive. Now, Blue Archive is some Japanese gacha game. Now, a gacha game is, if you know what a gacha is, it's like a
I think
gambling.
we. Right. Yeah.
It's like a slot machine, basically. But it's a slot machine with characters, with game characters. But this game, Blue Archive, I was so addicted to it that I was like spending 4 hours a day playing this damn game. It was all subbed
Oh
in Korean,
dang.
and I did learn a few words, and I got my sentences. But the time spent on that game versus sort of the density of immersion I could be getting from, say, a book
Hmm.
or another game, it just really didn't add up to me. So Blue Archive, while it was cool to get a few sentences, and maybe you guys could download it, just tap through the story, get the sentences you need,
Right.
and leave. But I wouldn't recommend it for anyone who's seriously trying to improve their language learning as a mobile
Hmm.
game. That pretty much does it for all the mobile games that I've tried. Have you tried any mobile
Oh.
stuff?
Now that you mentioned that, yeah, I
Yeah.
played a couple mobile games. Like it just came to me. There's this game called Slam Dunk. It's actually an anime.
Okay.
Slam
Yeah.
Dunk. It's a basketball game, and I remember it's not available in America, but I was able to get like an APK of the
Ah,
Korean version
yes.
of the game.
That's another good
And
tip, actually.
when I got that
Mm.
APK, I opened the game and I started playing, and I realized I was actually like playing with like Korean people like in live time. There's it was like every single time I played a game, there's one time that I heard someone's mic and someone was literally like talking like pest, 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 shoot,
in the
like
game.
someone was actually talking to me, and I was like, holy crap, this is kind of tough. As far as the immersion, there's like also like a little cutscenes inside the game where it was like the
Okay.
Korean dub of the anime was actually
I had
like
the dub.
yeah, it had the dub. Like you could
Nice.
watch like scenes from the anime within the game, and then like after watching the scenes, then you get like some coins, and then you could buy like a new character or something. So like that was like some pretty solid immersion that I did. I used to play that game all the time. Now that I think about it, yeah,
Wow.
I used to play that for a while, but then after a while, like I couldn't update it, so I just stopped playing. So I might have to
Yeah,
re-download
that is the
that.
issue.
But yeah, that was a
That's
fun
the issue
game.
for APK.
That was a fun game.
Yeah, no, I was
Right.
going to say APKs, for people who probably don't know what that is. If there's a game or app on the App Store that's not available in your country, if you Google whatever the name of the app is, then .apk, you can find
Right.
sort of download links to the app through the internet and not through the App Store. And this is really useful for finding certain Korean apps that you wouldn't be able to access without a VPN. I've downloaded a fair share of games and tried and tested them using this method. So yeah, just because I thought people might not know. But yeah, anywho, moving on. Other games that I've tried for in terms of output now. So I mean, I am mainly a PC player, so there was the Among Us earlier for output. But there's a new game called Phasmophobia. I'm not sure if are you aware of that.
I've never heard of it. No.
It's like it's a horror game, but the main goal is you have to sort of work together to find the ghost. It's kind of like Ghostbusters.
That's tough.
But yeah, you have to like sort of cooperate with people. So I'm using my Korean quite a lot in terms of like, oh man, have you got this checked off? Have you done this? Because you need to cooperate to win. So Phasmophobia is great for speaking. Another game that we actually have both played is VR Chat. Now, VR Chat
is classic. Everyone knows VR Chat.
Everyone knows VR Chat
in the language community.
Yeah, at least, yeah. I mean, it's great for making friends. There's some guy, I don't know if I should say his name, Zelkova or whatever his name is. I don't know if have you met him on Discord as well?
I know him. Yeah, I know him.
Yeah, that guy, really cool, like language learning guy who's a friend of ours, and just we met him on VR Chat one day, just in a random lobby, and he was like happy to speak to us, and like he sat me down before and helped me with like my pronunciation. Wow.
Oh really?
Like yeah, so for like the
awesome.
Sangyok, like I can't do it now. I'm gonna mess it up now, but like
yeah, I know what you mean.
And goom, like whatever. He helped me out with that sort of pronunciation. I still obviously haven't mastered it, but there are some really cool people on there.
Tough.
So yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
So
I think even with VR Chat, like there was that one time we actually went in VR Chat together. You were like, "All right, let's go in VR Chat. Let's see what we can do." And like,
I remember, special episode.
yeah. It was like sometime before, like after watching, what was it, like Shauma or maybe Matt vs. Japan, or who else makes it? Ikena, that make those VR Chat videos. I remember. I think it was like some months in. I was like, "Yo, VR Chat. That's like the perfect place to just creep in on Korean people conversation." So one day I got the VR Chat open and I went in and I just sat there and there's like 4 Korean people talking, and I sat there and I was like, let me see how much I can pick up. And this was like maybe 3 or 4 months into immersion, and I sat there, and then what came to my mind, I was like, I don't understand a lick of anything they're saying. Like I literally but the thing was, like, sitting there, I remember thinking to myself, I was like, you know what? In like a year from now, when I do this again, my comprehension is going to be through the roof, because I know this is going to work. I was just like trying to like motivate myself, like, while it's kind of like, that was the one moment where I was like, dang, this is kind of tough. I don't understand crap. Like, wow, like how far is immersion really going to take me? But then that time when you invited me and we went into VR Chat again to go and to try and go around and see if we could meet Zeka. I remember all of a sudden like having conversations with people, and it's like, what? This is so crazy, and able to understand things all over again. So that was like a really cool feeling too. VR Chat, man, it's definitely like probably the language learner's game. Let's be honest.
Yeah, really, especially at the higher levels. Yeah, exactly. Right. All sorts of servers on there. All right. There's also we have Cyberpunk as well. That was a wow
Cyberpunk
because we both
That
played
hype
that, and
of a
obviously that had
game.
the full Korean dub. I remember pre-ordering it when it
Right.
came out, and the first like 8 hours of that game was just spectacular, like some of the best gameplay I've ever played. And after you get to like the 8 hour mark, like there's so many bugs and glitches that the game's just unplayable. But I saw the future of gaming right there. Keanu Reeves speaking in Korean.
끝내고 싶으면 아가리에 총 쳐놓고 쏴버리던가.
Oh,
Like,
Keanu
it
Reeves.
doesn't get much better than that. And like the dubbing's actually on point. Like it's actually good.
Oh, it's awesome. It's
Because
awesome.
if you watch like some dubs of other movies, like it can be a bit shaky. But yeah, no, the
Right.
Korean dubbing in that game was amazing.
Oh yeah.
You played
Korean
it as
dub.
well. How was your experience?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Korean dub Cyberpunk, probably the most hyped I've been for a video game in like the past 2 years. And that game, honestly, I didn't play it
It's
like
sad it didn't live up.
more than maybe like 10 hours or so.
Right.
But oh my gosh, every single hour was worth it. Cyberpunk, especially when it comes to like the subtitles, and you can actually screenshot. You can screenshot on your screen when you see something. It's like, oh, I don't know that word. Screenshot and then like save it in your Steam. What's it called? Screenshot library. So then, like after playing the game, you can go back and like grab and make sense cards. So like that was pretty cool.
That was
something that I did.
And you can also get the optional choices. Like if you say one thing, I know they have this in like Fallout and
right.
Skyrim.
Yeah, and like Skyrim.
Yeah,
too,
if you choose one dialogue, they get to say something else. So it's kind of like you're almost practicing what it'd be like to
output.
Be a native speaker. Yeah,
right.
Pretty much because all the sentences are like perfectly bang on. So yeah,
exactly.
Damn,
Oh my
Cyberpunk.
gosh. So, yes.
If only they made it a good game and they fixed out the bugs. It's a shame.
The bugs were tough though. The bugs were
after you
definitely tough on Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
like there was some crazy like.
But the future
I remember
good,
it was like
for gaming.
Yeah. Besides Cyberpunk, I remember what else. There was something, like it's more popular in the Japanese learning community, but there's like the visual novels.
Yes.
Where you can
There's
like
a few
read.
Right.
Yeah. I tried out some of those.
Yeah.
There's only like maybe a couple that have audio. I don't think I played. There's a couple games on Steam that are kind of like that have audio. But for the most part, like visual novels, those are pretty fun ways to kind of get like reading practice. Especially with like
if you don't,
visual there.
If you find like books too intimidating or something like that,
right?
Then of course that's a good way to go. But I mean, webtoons are pretty much like I started with webtoons. I think webtoons are pretty cool. But if you're looking for visual novels, there are some out there. But the selection, in my own personal experience, is not as big as other languages like English or Japanese, for example.
Most definitely, yeah.
Which is a shame because that is kind of the downfall for gaming in Korean is that the dubbing support is just really not there. And there are some games that you just outright can't play because there's no patch for it or any sort of Korean version at all, which does kind of ruins things. But if you do like your Korean IPs, your Korean games, then there's certainly a lot to choose from within the Korean sort of market. Mainly MMOs, if I'm being honest, like Black Desert.
MMOs. Yeah. There's also something that I was curious if you knew about because, with Korea and their whole thing about like injung and approving like your credit card or phone number to get into games. I remember I was talking with a friend and they were talking about like how League of Legends you can't actually play on the Korean servers unless you're like have like
you're checked out.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, what the heck? I mean, it's kind of tough. It's like, oh, I want to play with some Korean people, but I can't.
Yeah. Well, actually, for my BDO account, I had to buy it off someone else because I couldn't verify it myself. Yeah, so I'm technically using someone else's account, but that's on the down.
That's tough.
I've just admitted it in this video, but anywho. For stuff like that, the injung, the verification in Korea is really serious. I wasn't actually. So in Korean society, to be an adult, you have to be 19 in the Western age. So I wasn't 19. So for game services and stuff like that, I couldn't even make my own phone number to start off with. And then second of all, you need a Korean phone number to sign up for like almost anything, and that's how they do it. Because when you buy a handset or you buy a SIM rather in a shop, they take your ID because in Korea. I don't know about the US, but the UK, we don't have like ID cards for each citizen. We just have our passport, perhaps something like that. Driver's license, maybe. But in Korea, every citizen gets the 신분증, which is like your place in society card ID basically,
Right.
and I had my foreigner one, but I was too young to basically because I was a foreigner. I had to foreigners who are under the age of 19 need their sort of proof of their like parents' approval, but because my parents went in Korea, I couldn't sign up. So
Yeah.
essentially,
Oh, yeah.
I was out of the verification, and I just had to borrow other people's accounts and stuff like that. And it's really a shame
So
because
many
there's so much
loops.
Korean
Yeah.
content that you can't
Oh,
get
yeah.
overseas. Even if you had a VPN, right? Even if you VPN'd, you still need the verification account. It's really
Right.
a shame. I don't really know
Oh,
when I do
like
it either.
yeah.
Like, because I mean, I suppose they can know who you are if you're trolling, but I haven't seen anyone, I don't know of any person, who got like fined because they're trolling on Overwatch or something,
Trolling. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those
So
things because I mean, like you kind of mentioned, like you were in Korea, and we know there's a
that
pretty
is where I was at.
popular
Yes.
Janso, a pretty popular place in Korea that we know as those PC bangs. So,
Yeah.
like, how was that? How was the
Yeah.
experience in the
The
PC bang?
PC Bang is pretty awesome. So if you are a gamer like me and you find yourself abroad in Korea, but you don't have a gaming PC yet, what can you do? You don't want to really spend, thousands of pounds or dollars on a gaming rig, right? So the only other option for you guys is to go to a PC bang, which is a internet cafe, and the prices are, I think, about 80p. So that would be in dollars, about $1 an hour, to rent a fully like top of the range
Oh
spec PC
wow!
with all the games on it. Really nice monitor, sound, like headphones, fastest internet, everything you could want, with all the games on it loaded up, pre-installed on your SSD. And the sort of culture of that is that here in the West, we always play, kind of anti-socially from our rooms online, playing with other players. But there, a lot of like school kids will just go up to these PC cafes and just like get like 5 booths, like for like
Oh,
$1 an
dope.
hour, and just play for hours on end, to avoid the hard on like their study academy and probably avoid what their parents are
Right.
telling them, But
Right.
yeah, no, I tried it out myself. I was a frequent user, of course. And the cool thing about these places is that on the monitor, you can actually order food and drink from
Right.
from your seat, and the staff will bring it out to you. The staff, this probably wouldn't work well in the West, but the staff comes out, they ask for your card, you give them your card, and they just walk off with it, and you've got to trust that they're gonna just
Yeah. Okay.
do the gears and the payment for
Every
you.
time you order, or is
Every
that the
time you
first time?
order. No, every
Oh,
time you
okay.
order. I think actually,
Okay.
because I wasn't a member, because I didn't have my verification, I couldn't sign up to be a
Oh,
member of
right.
this. It's kind of like being a gym member. You can like sign up to be a PC
Oh, yeah.
PC room member.
Yeah. Right.
Not so healthy. And you get like discounts, and you could probably get your card like pre sort of inputted into the
already
system.
ready.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I had to like get my card every time. But yeah, they have like hot dogs, like all the fast food, cup ramen, donkatsu. I had the donkatsu with like, it was just on microwave food basically because the
Okay.
staff there, they're not like chefs. They have to like just microwave it. But yeah, they do all sorts, Oreo milkshakes, a lot. But these places actually make their profit not off the machines, off the people ordering food, because they can like kind of charge. Like for example, a water bottle
Oh,
probably be
right.
like a little bit more expensive than a convenience store, so they make money off of that.
Mm.
But for actually using the machines, they're making a loss, or they're breaking even, I should say. Because if you think about it, so to buy a machine, let's say it's $1 an hour you use, and the machine costs say $1,500, probably more, $2,000, let's say. You'd have to spend like 2,000 hours for it to be,
To cover the cost.
to cover the cost. So for people who are sort of light users,
Light gamers, yeah.
light gamers, that is probably the better solution than buying your own machine. If there's
Right.
one in your area, and
If only they were outside of just Korea,
Oh,
man. Damn.
they do have
That
them
is
in the
so
UK.
tough,
Actually,
though.
they have one in
Oh,
the
they do?
UK. Well, like what I say, one or two places that they've
Okay.
made, but yeah, it's not a
Right.
frequent phenomenon. So
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I
Shame.
mean, you mentioned like kids, like, I mean, you were there in Korea during like the COVID, like when things were a little bit
The pandemic,
tighter.
yeah.
Like when you were at the Peace Bank, like how many people were usually there? It's like a lot of kids.
Mine was
or-
like, almost like, oh yeah, I can sort of go into the age range. So they actually have a couple booths as well. So there's like
Really?
the normal guys. Yeah, so it's kind of like a library. If you go in and you see libraries with like computer aisles, I mean, I don't know about your local library, but sort of
Yeah.
aisles and aisles of computers. And then
dang.
the one I've been to a few, and they normally have like the couple booth separate at the back, so you go around the back of the building,
Cool.
and then these ones with like sort of 2 sofas, and then like one big widescreen monitor and like a keyboard for couples to do it. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. That's obviously I didn't get that far. But,
You didn't use one.
I did not.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
I saw one guy using one on his own. Like he just wanted the extra space.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he wanted
Just
the
the bigger,
sofa.
was he a bigger dude or?
I know he was just like
Maybe
a
just
skinny normal
chilling?
guy, just chilling.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I don't know. I don't know if he worked there or whatever, but yeah, the age range of people there was mostly sort of either like students, like male students, like high school students. I'm talking,
Right.
and then there was the occasional like ajoshi, like 40-year-old man, just on that World of Warcraft grind. You know?
Yeah.
But it was
World of
mostly
Warcraft.
men, but there were a few like female players, but it was mostly young men or couples, pretty much.
Mm.
So yeah, that's what I saw. At least in my local one, I did go to a few others, and it was more or less the same. But yeah, and you can also you get printing done there. You can, like I said, all sorts of snacks, and you can actually pay for different tiers of PC as well. So if you want higher spec stuff, you can do that. You can plug in your own hard drive and all this. So yeah, it's really, really just all needs, not just for gaming. Like if you want to watch dramas, they've got all the dramas on there. So they've got all these subscriptions to like Watcher and
Damn.
they've got all the latest stuff. So
like, wait, you didn't have
pretty
to like
much-
sign into your own account? It was
No.
already
So
all
they
there.
got Netflix. I don't think it's Netflix, but they have Watcher, like all the Korean ones you'd want to watch.
Right.
Like there were certain new shows that were coming out at the time. Kills me, I can't remember the name, but if there was a drama, you name it, it would be on there. And like webtoons, they have all the sort of entertainment in one package, which is really cool.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it was really actually quite an amazing thing. Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Chongguk
man.
right there.
Oh my
Heaven.
gosh. And I mean,
Wow.
with like these games, like as far as we know, like video games, there's like that debate in the immersion realm where we talk about is it worth playing video games or are video games
there's
too
that guy-
hard or where?
That guy,
That
Stevie,
guy?
he quit his gaming.
Oh yeah,
Addiction.
oh yeah, Stevie. Stevie's
Put games
one
altogether.
prominent guy in the community. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. As far as like games, do you think? I mean, where we're at now, what do you say about your opinion on video games? Is that a recommendation should you play video games or
Yeah. Right.
what do you say?
So I mean, I think you already know my opinion, but if you are someone like me who's had video games all their life and you're going to find it hard to quit anyway, just switch them over to Korean and just try and find the ones that are most effective. But for those of you guys who haven't really dabbled in video games and are not really that interested, I wouldn't bother, going out of your way to try them. Maybe the one title like Cyberpunk or Stardew, like these ones here and there. But if you really want the most effective sort of Korean language learning environment, if you're like really all about efficiency, then video games probably not going to do it, because aside from a few games, the density just really isn't there to sort of justify it. But for me personally, I'm not so bothered about being 100% efficient, and I really enjoy video games anyway. So I'd find it really hard to cut it out of my life that way.
Right.
So I'm just kind of hooked, pretty much. What about you?
There is a great loophole that I kind of found to kind of satisfy my enjoyment for video games, but also maximize my efficiency, which was to watch gaming YouTubers. For example, there's Wakutnim, there's Sutak, or is it Taksu? I can't remember. There's a bunch of like... There's like this one like chicken like guy that he plays like horror games, and then Waku he does like VR chat, Sangwanguk, and all those videos.
Yeah,
Chimchakmendo also he does this stuff.
Yeah.
So like watching gameplay or you watching Minecraft? Oh my gosh, I forgot to talk about Minecraft. I played Minecraft in Korean too. Yeah, that's
I've
Korean.
played it since.
And
Damn.
yeah. Oh man, we have to play Minecraft one time. Playing Minecraft, VR chat, watching YouTubers play these games instead of like say spending my money on a game and then playing it. You not only do you get the gaming. I mean, it's not necessarily you're not playing the game, but you get to at least watch a Korean person play it, listen to how they respond to the game, but the immersion is like 2 times because instead of you talking and responding, you hear how Korean person talks and responds. So even like a cool thing that I kind of did was like with Cyberpunk, before I played it, I watched some Korean people play it. And then after watching them play it, I was like, oh, that's super cool, super cool. And then I jumped it in on myself, which kind of like added to like my immersive experiences.
That is interesting.
So I thought that was a good thing. Yeah. Were there any gameplay YouTubers you watched? Or
yeah, there's that, and there's also there's the Overwatch League is another thing that goes on. So for you guys who like esports, I've never really gotten into esports, even though I'm a big fan of games. I don't really know why, but Overwatch League is another thing where they just stream games like almost like all day and have Korean commentary. So if you find the Korean channel, you can watch that, have it on the background all day. But another interesting point you mentioned was that if you watch content related to the games, that's perhaps increasing your sort of content potential, because I know I've read loads of blogs about Black Desert and like what's the right way to craft this, and like read for ages paragraphs of text. So there is the debate there as well. Like I did say earlier that, you know, probably not the best idea in terms of density of the game, but actually now that I think about it, it does give you a lot of access to other news about the game, like you were saying, or streamers, which I think could be potentially sort of, don't want to say completely groundbreaking, but gives you quite a lot more content than the average user if you're interested in games.
Right. Yeah, and it's like one of those things too. It's like we're talking about the most effective immersion. We're talking about what is the closest way you can make Korean a part of your lifestyle. And if video games are like a core like part of your life and you love them, then the thing you can do is just transfer that from English to Korean. And then once you do that, then try and engage in the community that play those games you like. That's probably like the biggest way to make sure that you're having fun, because we don't want like you love to play like Black Desert and now it's like, oh, Black Desert's a crappy game for immersion, so stop playing. You don't need to go that far. You can at least start watching more YouTubers that play the game, like engaging in maybe Discord servers where people play it, etc. Like that. That's like the best way to like get it. Exactly. And and then obviously listening. Oh yeah, we talked about while playing games, listening to something in the background. Who said like you can listen to like playthroughs in the background while you're playing the game? I mean, that's a pretty cool thing that you can do too.
I love doing that. Like if there's a tutorial for something that I'm trying to do in the game, like I don't know, get this piece of armor, you have to do some certain mission or whatever. Listening to it in the background while you're going there in Black Desert particularly is really useful for that sort of thing. So,
right.
It's cool.
It's like
I don't know. Yeah, we've gotten pretty far. Is there like anything else you were trying to discuss? So we've said, we haven't mentioned we have mentioned some sort of the bad games, the good games. Anything else? Yeah, you want to bring up?
Like you were saying, bad games. Were there any bad games? Let me think real quick. I guess if there were any games that I'd shout out before we close up, there's one game on mobile. Why is it not coming to me? Something Quest. Crap.
Dragon
It's
Quest,
not coming to
maybe?
my head. It's not Dragon Quest. I actually do have Dragon Quest in Korean on mobile.
Oh, yeah?
But I didn't play that game that much. It's actually kind of fun. I got like Dragon Quest 1 in Korean. But
I've got another shout out. I just thought of a mobile game which I forgot I played, but I had. Epic 7. It's loads of text, loads of dialogue. So yeah, if you're looking for dialogue, kind of similar to Stardew Valley sort of writing, really great for new words. Epic 7 is a very efficient game. It's like almost reading pretty much half the time. But yeah, I'll let you find your game.
For some reason I'm blanking, but there's like
all right, well,
we'll put a clip in there.
It'll be on the screen. Yeah, there we go.
But essentially, the game is like what do they call it? Not RPG. I don't know my game vocab.
You don't know your.
It's one of those. It's a text-based game where it's like an adventure, and essentially you play as a character. It's almost like it gives me D&D vibes, where it's an RPG kind of thing, and there's no like actual like character you're using. It's more like the text, and then you click an action you want to do, and then the story will continue. So you're reading a story. and essentially you make a decision, and it's like, oh, there's trolls in the path. What do? I want to attack, and then I click attack, and then it says roll, and then I roll like a 5, and then I deal like 5 damage, and then it says, oh, the troll's at 5 health, etc., etc. And essentially, the story's pretty cool because you can do like infinite playthroughs of this. It's kind of like another game called like Inst Life. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but it's like you basically just play your life as this character trying to essentially I don't even know if there's an end. It's just like you play forever, and it's like a bunch of different dialogues. So I used that like last year. I read a bunch of that. It's another one of those games that I think you have to get via APK, but I will we'll plug that in, let you guys know. I really recommend that game. It was a pretty fun game for reading, etc. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I actually want to try it myself now. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think does that pretty much wrap it up for you, or?
That is pretty much all we got for today.
All right, guys. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us on this second episode of ours about gaming and all things gaming related. If you guys would like to recommend us some games or recommend anyone else some games that you like, leave a comment down below. And I suppose, yeah, we'll see you in the next podcast. Thank you very much for coming over, guys. See you soon.
Yeah.
All right.
See you guys.